Hi everyone, so today I want to share my story of how I earned 10,000 followers in about 3 years, I would say. And I started off from, I was a beginner. I barely touched the camera before I started this account. And then, yeah, recently I hit 10,000 followers, so I just wanted to share my story there. Let's go inside. Hey, I'm Yossi Zaoki, and I am a photographer, mainly a candid photographer in Tokyo, and I wanted to share my experience on Instagram and how I reached 10,000 followers. I'm making this video because I personally think that 10,000 followers is it's like this very mediocre point. I think like when you don't have many followers, I think this sounds like such a big target, but there's so many people with like gajillions of followers that it's funny how much this actually doesn't matter. So that's exactly the reason why I'm making this video. So to put some things into perspective before we start, I started off with pretty much 0 followers. No one cared about me, no one looked at my photography, no one cared about my photography, no one cared about my life, no one cared about me, no one cared about my thoughts, blah blah blah, so on and so on. I barely knew how to hold a camera, I barely knew anyone that took photos, and I started off with one film camera, point and shoot, which was the Contax T2, before it became so expensive. So I wanted to go over a few things that I intentionally did during this process, I would say. Yes, so as I mentioned, I had a point and shoot film camera first. And still, I made a goal to post something every day. Not only something, but a photo that I think, or I thought, was good. An important thing to note is I only posted once a day. This is because I think what happens is sometimes you get overly excited, or you post too many photos, and then people that follow you get really tired or really ignored by the content that you're producing, because you're posting, 2, 3, 4, sometimes even more shitty photos every day, and no one wants to look at that, to be honest. Next up, I utterly hated it, but I tried to use hashtags. First, it was so cringy to me to use hashtags, and it is for most people, I think. And still up to this day, some people refuse to use it, and I totally understand. But yeah, once you're over that, this is cringy moment or thought process, I think it only has upsides to it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're adding a bunch of hashtags, and that's it. So some upsides that occur or happen from these hashtags are, when it comes to street photography or photography in general, you have these things called feature accounts, and what they do is they feature your work if they're good enough or if they're selected. And these accounts usually, or supposedly, have many followers and many people that look at it. So if your photo gets featured, then it's exposed to many people that tend to be out of your reach too. An important factor here is to use hashtags that matter. Don't use very generic hashtags like hashtag Instagram or hashtag photography. Doesn't really matter in most cases. There's too many photos in that hashtag, and people don't, scroll through hashtag photography to look at those 10 billion food pics that are on, right? So go to some feature accounts that you like and then see if they have a hashtag and use their hashtags. Even within photography or street photography or whatever you're into, there's these small niches, and then these small niches use their own hashtags too. And when you're starting off and you want to try to gain a following or some kind of presence, it's good to have a niche, or it's good to have something that people can relate you with. In my case, because I was using film a lot in the beginning, I used a lot of film hashtags, hashtag shoot film, or buy film, not megapixels, those kind of things. The next point that I can't express enough, and it was so important to me when I started, it's so important to me now too, is that I followed and studied the photography of masters, and solely focusing on the masters. Obviously, there's a lot of amazing photographers out there these days, and there's so many great accounts to follow, but when you follow or study a master, there's this assurance to the quality you're getting, this undoubtful thing that you can follow or look up to. It's just that there's so much material that you can study off of them from. In addition, when you're starting off, it's really hard to judge who or what photographs are good. Like, you're still you know, you're still processing things and you're still studying on your own way. So it's really hard to judge or tell what are the true masters, right? Maybe even I can be like a fake hero for some people too. I'm not too sure. Like if some people look up to me, maybe there's even better people to look up to, right? I think what I want to say is it's important to follow the right people. And it's essential to do that to not get into bad habits too, like covering up bad photographs with some filter or some preset. Again, I'm not saying that's the only way to go, but if you want to get good at photography, then I advise you to do this. Look up to masters. The next thought process I had was thinking, how do I gain the respect of these masters? I think there's a lot to unravel here, but at least for me, when I was looking up to these master photographers, I was looking at their photographs and going, wow, how do I do that? How do I get photographs that are just that spectacular? But I think the answer was just to keep on taking photos and keep on taking good photos and recognizing good or interesting photos within the photos that you were taking, and also be critical of yourself. But also, don't just look at one photographer. This also is an issue because you start copying someone and you start seeing, or you're trying to see the same thing constantly. I think there's a couple merits to gaining followers that are people that you respect. One point is that you get this cycle of feedback from them. Let's say you really like Steve McCurry. There we go. Everyone knows him. You're trying to get photos like him. You're posting them. And someday, for some reason, he follows you. Holy shit. Steve McCurry now follows you. Wow. By the way, he doesn't follow me. But then you realize there's some photos that he likes, and there's some photographs that he doesn't like. And out of the photos that he didn't like, there are some photos that you think are really, really good. Why does this happen? Is this because Steve McCurry can't judge a good photograph between a bad photograph? No, absolutely not. It's because he has his likings. You, in the first place, really liked Steve McCurry. You're trying to take photos like Steve McCurry. And now maybe that has happened and you're able to take photos like Steve McCurry, and that's fucking amazing. But the thing here is, now you're just taking photos that Steve McCurry might like. Maybe that's not you. Maybe there's more to it. And then you have someone like Joel Meyerowitz following you. Vastly different from Steve McCurry. They're liking different photos from each other, from your portfolio. Interesting. See, now what's happening is you get to see or understand how other photographers think or how they operate too. Obviously, you know, there's different intents to how people like photographs, but you can use this as kind of like a small feedback tool. In terms of what this does for growth, when you go to someone's profile and then you can actually see that someone that you follow follows that person. Let's say that you follow Samuel Streetlife, Lintaro. He follows me. You didn't know me. You go to my profile page. You see that Samuel Streetlife follows me. And then you're like, oh shit, Samuel follows this guy. He must be pretty good. And then you follow me. See how that went? Brilliant. So that's another good point on having respectable people follow your account. This leads into my next point. I collaborated. Why does this lead into collaboration? Because I think the first biggest collaboration thing I did was actually with Samuel Streetlife. He hit me up. He told me he wanted to do a video with me about how I shoot, which was amazing because I really looked up to him and looked up to his YouTube channel and his street work. And I asked him why he followed me, because that was really weird because no one knew me, no one was looking at my photographs, and he just followed me and looked at my photographs. It seemed like it was because Tatsuo Suzuki, one really, really famous photographer in Japan, was following me. In this case, Samuel looked at my Instagram profile and saw that Tatsuo Suzuki follows me, so he's like, wow, this guy must be good. And that was my Samuel impression. And then he looked into my photographs and he saw something in me, so he interviewed me. That's just one example. Other examples: meeting with other photographers, being featured on accounts, making books and doing exhibitions with people, doing photo walks with people, meeting people that are visiting, or meeting other great photographers that are visiting Japan, and then going to shoot out with them. All these things have happened through Instagram, and also because I was open to collaborate, I guess. So, to recap, what did I do to gain 10,000 followers in 3 years? For the first year and a half, I posted every day. I posted a photo that I thought was good. And this was from film, so I had to shoot a lot. So that pressured me to go shooting and pressured me to select good photos. I used hashtags. I followed masters and studied masters, and I tried to gain the respect from them through good photography. And lastly, I collaborated. Man, yeah, that's pretty much how I did it. I still have a very long way to go in my photographic journey. This really, followers don't really mean too much, but it helps. They help. They really help. And they make life really fun because people are looking at your work and people want to work with you, right? It's really fun and people want to talk to you more. And just one more point I wanted to add is don't try to make your photographs look the same on Instagram. You know how there's some Instagram pages that you go to their page and they all look the same. It seems like those accounts do well on the platform, but in terms of photographs, those are really boring. So if you want to get good at photography, I advise you not to do that. So my advice is shoot anything that you want, because I think this is actually the fastest shortcut, actually, is to shoot what you think is beautiful and then keep at it. And if you feel like shooting something else, go ahead and do it. Just don't suck at it. So guys, thanks for watching this video. It was a short video, quarantine special, maybe. But yeah, who am I? This was Ulysses Aoki. Stay safe out there and stay at home. See you in the next video. Goodbye. This is what you get to wear once you get to 10,000 followers on Instagram. You get to wear a leather jacket and a necklace at home.